Can we please play something else now?
Yeah, okay.
Let your fist do the talking. In your face. Hyper combo KO. Player 2 wins.
So at some point, am I actually going to get to play the game, or is this just going to be like a single player thing for you?
Okay, well, what would you prefer?
Let's get this out of the way right now. I'm not very good at fighting games, and I never was. Trying to learn lengthy double-digit combos is like trying to memorize the entire periodic table of the elements, for God's sakes. I look at graphs of frame data and all I could think about is suffering through pre-cal in high school. The patience to understand and master the complex mechanics of games like Super Street Fighter or King of Fighters is a skill I just haven't taken the time to level up. That's not to say I dislike fighting games. Far from it, I absolutely adore them. Nothing gets your blood pumping and the sweat rolling down your forehead quite like a tense battle against the person sitting next to you. Well, maybe except for, Dance Dance Revolution. Originally released in arcades by Capcom in 1997, Rival Schools is a 3D fighting game that found its way onto the Sony PlayStation in the summer of 1998. This was an era when Capcom was experimenting with 3D polygonal fighters in the vein of games like Battle Arena Toshinden, or the more popular Namco fighters like Soul Edge and Tekken. The results were mixed, with Capcom producing both good and bad games. Despite it being in 3D, Rival Schools still plays like a traditional 2D fighter, with the ability to sidestep and super jump, as well as having normal and special versions of attacks, as well as a super meter called Vigor. Unlike many of Capcom's other series though, it utilizes a 4-button setup closer to SNK style, with 2 punches and 2 kicks of weak and strong variety. And taking a cue from their Marvel vs. Capcom series, Rival Schools introduces 2-on-2 battles and a variety of team-up attacks.
So wait, they basically just took all the best mechanics from other fighting games and put them together? Then what's stopping me from just playing those games instead?
Well, that's true. Rival Schools mechanics don't really introduce anything new per se, and as fighting games go, it's actually fairly simple. Heck, that's probably one reason why I'm actually kind of good at it. But what I absolutely adore about Rival Schools is just the energy and the pizzazz it brings to the genre, which is something I just haven't felt from many other fighting games. Fighting games aren't generally known for having decent stories. They're usually shoehorned into the game, serving little more than an intro and an ending for the single-player experience. It's like, where's my motivation for fighting? Why am I even here? What am I doing with my life? Rival School's story is one of the elements I love most about the game, as it draws on Japanese high school life and injects it with a zany anime sensibility right from the start, with a great animated intro sequence. Each trio of characters represents a different school, and each one is drawn into a kooky plot to take over the Japanese government through mind control. It ain't no Enter the Dragon ripoff, but especially to us Westerners it feels fresh and different. The characters themselves are pretty much overblown anime stereotypes, but the cast is varied and colorful, from the Yakuza-style punks of Ghetto High School to the sporty blonde American transfer students of the aptly named Pacific High School. And hey, it's a cast where it actually makes sense to include cute bubbly schoolgirls like Sakura. Tying into the overlying theme of friendship, Rival Schools allows you to select a pair of characters, and if you pick the ones from the same school, the story mode is actually fleshed out. Fully voiced with the original Japanese dialogue, the story changes depending on which 2 of the 3 characters you have, leading to tons of alternate scenes and exchanges. It's a really nice touch for a fighting game to have, actually. And while this is an arcade game, I have to point mainly to the PlayStation version, which came chock full of extras on an entire second disc. Aside from standard fighting modes like an additional tournament option and some extra costumes, the second disc also contains a number of minigames, including a home run derby, a kind of volleyball bowling game, and a soccer shootout. The original Japanese release saw the second disc contain an awesome simulation mode, where you can create your own character and experience life in one of the game's many high schools. In this mode, you interact with the original cast and attend classes and clubs in order to learn new moves and improve your stats. It was an awesome idea, and one that I'm really disappointed didn't make the cut in the American release.
Well, couldn't they have included that in a sequel or something?
To me, this is one of the great injustices done by Capcom, right up there with their cancellation of Mega Man Legends 3. To be honest, I have no idea why there has not been a revival of this franchise. With so many other older Capcom titles getting at the very least an HD remix, it boggles my mind how Rival Schools hasn't even seen a downloadable port on the PS3 or the Xbox. Rival Schools did get a sequel in Project Justice, a Dreamcast exclusive that introduced a new story featuring additional characters to support the returning cast, along with graphical and mechanical improvements. The biggest improvement being 3-person teams, which allowed for bigger team-up attacks and broader playstyles. Unfortunately, Project Justice is now one of the rarer Dreamcast releases in America, and can go upwards of $80 to $100 on eBay for a disc version alone. Even when it comes to the crossover games, Rival Schools once again draws the short end of the stick, with only a few appearances in obscure releases like Tatsunoko vs. Capcom and Namco Cross Capcom, that one of which never even made it to the US. Rival Schools might not have the complexity or the following of Street Fighter or Marvel, but for its time it burst onto the crowded fighting game scene with all the energy and color of an action movie. It didn't pretend to be a game made for the hardcore crowd, and instead it focused on a polished single-player experience that, as far as I've seen, is today only rivaled by Persona 4 Arena. To me, that experience is something special, something that's been lost to a genre that's now focused more on the competitive scene. And it's one of the reasons why Rival Schools will always remain a game I will pick up and play every now and then, even if those polygons have aged about as well as a bowl of rotting fruit.